Olivia Bennett gripped her steering wheel, knuckles white as panic flooded her system. The man in her back seat had appeared from nowhere, sliding into her silver Honda with the confidence of someone who belonged there. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she pressed the accelerator. The car lurching forward into traffic. Drive faster," the stranger commanded, his voice deep and authoritative. Every terrifying news story Olivia had ever heard flooded her mind at once. Carjackings, kidnappings, robberies gone wrong. Her phone sat uselessly in her purse on the passenger seat, just out of reach. The morning had started so normally. She had been running late for her presentation at the design agency, stuck at a red light, mentally rehearsing her pitch about the new branding campaign. Then this man, this criminal, had simply opened her door and taken over her life. "Please." Olivia's voice trembled as she weaved between cars. "I have a family. I have a little sister who needs me." The man in the back seat looked up from his phone, confusion crossing his handsome features. "What are you talking about?" "Just take my purse," Olivia continued, her voice rising with each word. "Take my wallet, my cards, everything. Just please let me go. Let you go. Lady, I'm the one who needs to. I'm begging you." Olivia's vision blurred with tears. She swerved sharply, earning angry honks from surrounding vehicles. Jonathan Pierce finally lowered his phone, truly looking at the driver for the first time. The woman was terrified, actually crying and driving like she was fleeing for her life. Something was very, very wrong. "Stop the car," Jonathan said firmly. "No, you'll hurt me." "I'm not going to hurt anyone. Please, just pull over safely." Olivia's mind raced. Her self-defense instructor had said never to let an attacker take you to a second location. But they were already moving, already in motion. What were the rules for this situation? Her hands shook so badly she could barely control the steering wheel. The next parking lot, Jonathan tried again, keeping his voice calm. "Pull in there. Nobody's going to get hurt." Something in his tone made Olivia glance in the rearview mirror. The man looked genuinely concerned, not threatening, against every instinct screaming at her to keep driving. She turned into a quiet parking lot behind, a small shopping plaza, and threw the car into park. The truth revealed for several seconds, they sat in absolute silence. Olivia's breathing came in short gasps, while Jonathan tried to process what had just happened. "Okay," Jonathan said slowly, raising both hands where she could see them. "I think there's been a massive misunderstanding." "You got into my car," Olivia accused, finally turning to face him. "You told me to drive? 'Cause I thought you were my rideshare driver." Jonathan pulled out his phone, showing her the app. "See? I ordered a car 5 minutes ago. Silver Honda, just like this one. It was supposed to pick me up right where you were stopped." Olivia stared at the screen, then at him, then back at the screen. The address matched. The car description matched. Slowly, the terror began to fade, replaced by a cocktail of embarrassment and residual adrenaline. "You thought I was your Uber? And you thought I was a criminal?" They looked at each other for a long moment before Jonathan started to laugh. It began as a chuckle, but grew into full, genuine laughter that seemed to release all the tension from the car. Despite herself, Olivia felt her lips twitch. "This isn't funny," she tried to say, but a giggle escaped. "You drove like a stunt driver," Jonathan managed, between laughs. "I thought my actual Uber driver was having some kind of breakdown. Thought I was being kidnapped. By a guy in a three-piece suit, carrying a briefcase?" Olivia looked at him properly for the first time. He was right. The man was dressed in an obviously expensive navy suit, his dark hair perfectly styled, a leather briefcase at his feet. Not exactly the typical criminal profile. Could have been a white-collar criminal, she defended weakly. "Fair point," Jonathan conceded, his smile softening. "I'm Jonathan, by the way. Jonathan Pierce. And I'm truly sorry for scaring you like that. Olivia Bennett." She accepted his offered handshake, noticing how warm and steady his grip was. "And I'm sorry for nearly causing 3 accidents while thinking you were going to murder me." Jonathan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and sighed. "My actual rideshare just canceled?" Apparently, the driver waited at the location for 30 seconds and then left. "Where were you trying to go?" "Downtown." The Pierce Tech building on Madison Avenue. Olivia checked her watch. Her presentation was in 40 minutes, and her office was only 10 minutes from Madison Avenue. She couldn't believe what she was about to say. I'll drive you. You don't have to. I nearly gave you a heart attack. It's the least I can do. Olivia shifted the car back into drive. Besides, I'm heading downtown anyway. An unexpected connection, the drive started in awkward silence, but gradually, conversation began to flow. Jonathan asked about her morning. Olivia found herself telling him about her presentation, her nerves about pitching to the company's biggest client. Graphic design. Jonathan leaned forward with genuine interest. What kind of projects do you work on? Mostly branding for small businesses. Nothing as exciting as whatever happens at a tech company. Trust me. Tech company meetings are 90% people arguing about whether buttons should be round or square. Olivia laughed, surprised by how down-to-earth he seemed. That actually sounds exactly like our meetings, except we argue about fonts. The eternal serif versus sans serif debate. You know about typography? I had to learn when we were designing our app interface. Our designer was very passionate about letter spacing. Jonathan's eyes crinkled when he smiled. And Olivia noticed they were a striking shade of gray-blue. They talked about design, about the city, about the absurdity of their morning. Olivia learned that Jonathan had built his company from his college dorm room, that he still remembered the terror of his first investor pitch, that despite his obvious wealth, he took the subway sometimes just to feel normal. Here we are, Olivia announced as they pulled up to a gleaming glass tower. Pierce Tech. Impressive. Jonathan gathered his briefcase but hesitated before opening the door. Olivia, thank you for the ride. And for not calling the police. Thank you for not actually being a criminal. Would you, Jonathan paused, seeming uncharacteristically uncertain. Would you let me buy you coffee sometime? As an apology for the worst rideshare experience of your life? Olivia's heart did an unexpected flip. She thought about saying no, about keeping this strange encounter as just a funny story to tell Rachel later. But something about the genuine warmth in Jonathan's expression made her smile. I'd like that. They exchanged numbers. And as Olivia watched him disappear into the building's lobby, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just changed in the most unexpected way. 3 days passed before Jonathan texted. Olivia had nearly convinced herself he wouldn't, that maybe their encounter had been too strange, too chaotic, to warrant a follow-up. Then her phone buzzed during a team meeting. Coffee tomorrow? I promised to arrive in my own car this time. Rachel squealed when Olivia showed her the message that evening. This is like a romantic comedy come to life. You literally scared a millionaire and he still wants to see you. It's just coffee, Olivia protested. Though she was already mentally sorting through her closet, nothing is ever just coffee. The next morning, Olivia changed outfits 4 times before settling on a simple blue dress that Rachel insisted brought out her eyes. She arrived at the cafe 10 minutes early, her stomach doing nervous flips. When Jonathan walked in wearing jeans and a casual sweater that probably cost more than her monthly rent, her breath caught. You look beautiful, he said simply. And the sincerity in his voice made her cheeks warm. They ordered coffee and found a quiet corner table. The conversation flowed even easier than it had in the car. Jonathan asked about her presentation, genuinely interested in the details. She learned he had a younger sister studying art in Paris, that he was terrified of heights, despite living on the 20th floor, that his success had come with sacrifices he was only now beginning to understand. Everyone thinks having money solves all your problems, Jonathan said, stirring his coffee absently, but it just creates different ones. You stop knowing who likes you for yourself and who likes what you can give them. Is that why you're having coffee with someone who threatened to crash her car rather than be kidnapped by you? Jonathan laughed, the sound genuine and warm. Exactly. You're the first person in months who didn't know who I was when we met. It was refreshing. Well, now I've Googled you, Olivia admitted. Pierce Technology's youngest CEO in your sector featured in Forbes. And you're still here? The articles didn't mention that you have terrible taste in rideshare vehicles. Their laughter drew smiles from other customers. They talked until their coffee grew cold, till the cafe started filling with the lunch crowd, until Olivia realized 3 hours had vanished like minutes. When Jonathan walked her to her car, he hesitated again, that same uncertainty she'd seen before crossing his features. "Can I see you again? Dinner this time?" "I'd love that." She drove home. Olivia couldn't stop smiling. Rachel was right. This was definitely not just coffee. The interference there? Second date was at an elegant restaurant Olivia would never have chosen herself. Jonathan had insisted, saying he wanted to share one of his favorite places with her. She felt out of place among the designer dresses and expensive watches. But Jonathan's attention never wavered from her. "You keep fidgeting with your napkin," he observed gently. "I'm just not used to places where the menu doesn't have prices," Olivia admitted. "The food is incredible, I promise. And Olivia, you belong anywhere you choose to be." His words steadied her, and as the evening progressed, she relaxed into the experience. They shared stories about their families, their dreams, their fears. Jonathan was surprisingly open about the pressure of running a company, the constant decisions that affected hundreds of employees, the loneliness that came with his position. "I always thought success would feel different," he confessed over dessert. "More satisfying, maybe? But lately it just feels empty." Until Olivia prompted, sensing there was more. "Until I met someone who made me remember what it felt like to just be a person. Not a CEO or a net worth or a business opportunity." Their eyes met across the table, and Olivia felt something shift between them, something deeper than attraction. This was connection. Real and terrifying and wonderful. That perfect moment shattered when a woman's voice cut through the restaurant's ambient noise. Jonathan Pierce. What an unexpected surprise. The woman who approached their table was stunning in the way that only extreme wealth and careful maintenance could achieve. Her blonde hair fell in perfect waves, her designer dress fit like it had been painted on, and her smile held all the warmth of a glacier. "Oh, Victoria." Jonathan's voice went flat. "This is unexpected, clearly." Victoria's eyes swept over Olivia with barely concealed disdain. "Aren't you going to introduce me to your companion?" "Olivia Bennett. This is Victoria Sterling." "We used to date." "Used to?" Victoria laughed, the sound crystalline and cutting. "Jonathan, we were together for 3 years? That's hardly something you dismiss with used to." Olivia felt herself shrinking under Victoria's scrutiny. The other woman's dress probably cost more than Olivia made in 6 months. Her jewelry was real, her confidence absolute. She belonged in this world in a way Olivia never would. "It was good to see you, Victoria," Jonathan said firmly, a clear dismissal. "I'm having lunch with your mother next week," Victoria said sweetly. "She mentioned you'd been avoiding her calls. I'm sure she'll be interested to hear about your new interests." After Victoria glided away, an uncomfortable silence settled over their table. Jonathan reached for Olivia's hand, but she pulled back slightly. "That was your ex-girlfriend?" "For the past 8 months, yes." "Olivia, she's just trying to cause trouble. She's beautiful and sophisticated and clearly part of your world. It's part of a world I'm trying to leave behind," Jonathan said earnestly. "Olivia, please don't let Victoria get in your head." But the damage was done. Olivia couldn't shake the image of Jonathan and Victoria together. It's perfectly matched in their expensive clothes and exclusive circles. What was she doing here? Playing dress-up in a world where she didn't belong? The reality check the next morning, Daniel Park from Olivia's office stopped by her desk with coffee and a smile. Daniel was nice, safe, uncomplicated. He wore normal clothes and ate normal food and didn't have ex-girlfriends who looked like supermodels. "Rough client meeting yesterday," he said sympathetically. "Thought you could use a pick-me-up? You're a lifesaver, Daniel. Some of us are going to that new pizza place Friday night. Want to come?" Before she could answer, her phone buzzed with a text from Jonathan. "Thinking about you. Dinner tonight?" Olivia looked at Daniel's kind face, then at her phone. Then at her cluttered desk, covered in projects for small businesses who paid in modest budgets and genuine appreciation. This was her world. Simple, real, comfortable. "Friday sounds great," she told Daniel. She texted Jonathan back. "Can't tonight. Work stuff." Wasn't entirely a lie. She did have work to catch up on. She also needed space to think, to figure out if she was brave enough to keep stepping into Jonathan's world or smart. Enough to step back before she got hurt. Jonathan called that evening. Olivia let it go to voicemail. Then she listened to his message 3 times. Hey, I know you're busy. I just wanted to say that Victoria showing up was terrible timing, but please don't let her ruin what we're building. You're the first real thing that's happened to me in years, Olivia. Call me when you can. Rachel found her sitting on their apartment balcony, phone in hand, staring at nothing. Want to talk about it? I don't know if I can do this, Rachel. His ex-girlfriend is basically a movie star. His world is so different from mine. What if I'm just setting myself up to get hurt? Or, Rachel sat beside her. What if you're setting yourself up for something amazing? Olivia, I've known you since college. I've never seen you light up the way you do when you talk about him. That's exactly what scares me. For 3 days, Olivia avoided Jonathan's calls and texts. She went to work, smiled at Daniel's jokes, joined her coworkers for pizza on Friday. It was nice, comfortable, safe. It was also hollow in a way she couldn't ignore. On Saturday afternoon, her doorbell rang. Rachel answered it, then called out in a strangled voice, Olivia, you need to come here now. Jonathan stood in their doorway, looking disheveled and worried in a way that made Olivia's heart clench. His normally perfect hair was messy, his expression raw with emotion. I'm sorry for showing up unannounced, he said quickly. But you weren't answering, and I needed to see you. I needed to tell you something. Jonathan, please, just let me say this. He took a deep breath. I've spent the last 3 days thinking about Victoria, about my mother's expectations, about all the reasons why this might be complicated. And you know what I realized? None of it matters. Not the money, not the social circles, not the past relationships. What matters is that when I'm with you, I feel like myself. Not Jonathan Pierce, CEO, just Jonathan. The guy who still gets nervous before big meetings, who watches terrible reality TV when he can't sleep, who wants nothing more than to make you smile. Olivia felt tears prick her eyes. Your world is so different from mine, and let's build a new world, ours. I'm not asking you to change who you are or where you come from. I'm asking you to take a chance on something real. On us, Rachel, who had been shamelessly eavesdropping, whispered loudly, If you don't kiss him right now, I will. Olivia laughed through her tears. You drove across town to tell me this? I would have driven across the country. She closed the distance between them, and when their lips met, it felt like coming home, like finding something she hadn't known she was missing. When they finally broke apart, Jonathan was smiling that genuine smile she'd first seen in her car. The one that made her forget about all the reasons this shouldn't work. So, he said softly, Does this mean you'll stop avoiding my calls? It means I'll try to be brave enough to see where this goes. That's all I'm asking. As Rachel quietly closed the door to give them privacy, Olivia realized something important. Love wasn't about belonging to the same world. It was about being willing to build a new one together, piece by piece, compromise by compromise, brave choice by brave choice. And looking into Jonathan's eyes, she knew she was finally ready to try. 2 months after that Saturday afternoon confession, Olivia and Jonathan had settled into a rhythm that felt natural despite their different worlds. They alternated between her favorite casual spots and his upscale haunts, finding joy in experiencing each other's lives. Jonathan learned to appreciate food truck tacos, while Olivia discovered she actually enjoyed the opera when she went with someone who made her laugh during intermission. But their bubble of happiness was about to be tested. The invitation arrived on thick, cream-colored cardstock with gold embossing. Margaret Pierce requested the pleasure of Jonathan's company for dinner at the family estate, and the handwritten note at the bottom made it clear this wasn't optional. We need to discuss your recent choices. Come alone. Jonathan showed Olivia the invitation over breakfast at her apartment. She'd been teaching him to make proper pancakes, and flour dusted his expensive shirt in a way that made her heart warm. She knows about me, Olivia said quietly. Victoria probably told her everything. With her own special twist, Jonathan set down the spatula, his jaw tight. I'm not going without you, Jonathan. Maybe you should. Talk to your mother. Explain things properly. There's nothing to explain. I'm dating you because I care about you, not because I need my mother's permission. But Olivia could see the tension in his shoulders, the worry in his eyes. Margaret Pierce was famously formidable. A woman who had built half of Jonathan's company's early connections through sheer force of will and strategic social positioning. Her approval mattered, even if Jonathan didn't want to admit it. "Go," Olivia said firmly. "Hear what she has to say. I'm not going anywhere." The dinner happened on a Tuesday evening. Jonathan texted her beforehand with a simple message: "Wish me luck." Then silence for 3 hours that felt like 3 years. When he finally called, his voice was strained. "Can I come over?" 20 minutes later, he was at her door, his tie loosened, and his expression weary. Rachel tactfully disappeared into her bedroom as Olivia led Jonathan to the couch. "That bad?" she asked gently. "She gave me an ultimatum." Jonathan's laugh was bitter. "Stop seeing you, or she convinced the board to vote me out as CEO. Olivia felt the blood drain from her face. She can do that? She controls enough shares and has enough influence with the founding investors. It would be a fight, but she could make it happen. He pulled Olivia close, resting his forehead against hers. "She thinks you're after my money. She called you a distraction? Said I'm throwing away everything we built for some passing infatuation." "Maybe she's right about the distraction part," Olivia whispered. "Don't." Jonathan pulled back to look at her directly. "Don't let her make you doubt this. Doubt us. Jonathan, that company is your life's work. I can't be the reason you lose it. You're not the reason. My mother's controlling nature is the reason." Stood up, pacing her small living room. "I've spent my entire life meeting her expectations. The right schools, the right friends, the right girlfriend. Victoria was her choice, someone from the correct family with the correct connections. And I was miserable. But you were successful." "I was empty," Jonathan corrected. "Olivia, before I met you, I was going through the motions. Building wealth I didn't enjoy, attending parties I hated, dating someone I didn't love. You changed that. You reminded me what it feels like to actually live." Olivia wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at her. "What if we don't work out? What if you give up everything, and then we realize this was just the excitement of something new?" Jonathan knelt in front of her, taking her hands. "Then at least I'll have tried. At least I'll have chosen my own path, instead of following someone else's map." He paused, his voice softening. "But I don't think that's going to happen. I think we have something real, something worth fighting for." The breaking point the next weeks were tense. Margaret launched a quiet campaign among the board members, spreading concerns about Jonathan's recent distraction and poor judgment. Victoria appeared at company events, playing the role of the concerned former girlfriend who only wanted what was best for Jonathan. Olivia watched it unfold through Jonathan's increasingly stressed updates. She saw how it wore on him, the pressure from all sides, and she began to wonder if loving someone meant letting them go. Before you became the reason they lost everything, the decision crystallized one evening when Daniel asked her to coffee. They sat in a cafe 3 blocks from her office, the same one where she'd had her first date with Jonathan. "You seem stressed lately," Daniel observed. "Everything okay?" Olivia found herself telling him everything. About Jonathan, about Margaret's ultimatum, about feeling like she was ruining someone's life just by existing in it. "Do you love him?" Daniel asked simply. "I think I do. But is that enough when everything else is falling apart?" "Olivia, I've liked you for a long time," Daniel said honestly. "I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But even I can see that you've changed since you met him. You're happier, more confident. You light up when your phone buzzes because you think it might be him." He smiled sadly. "That's not something you walk away from just because it's complicated. But what if I'm being selfish? What if the right thing is to let him focus on saving his company? Or what if the right thing is to trust that he's an adult who can make his own choices? Olivia, you're not holding a gun to his head. He's choosing you every day. Maybe it's time you trust that choice." That evening, Olivia made a decision. She called Jonathan and asked him to meet her at the park where they'd had their 3rd date. A quiet spot by the river with a view of the city skyline. He arrived looking worried. "Your text sounded serious. It is. Olivia took a deep breath, her carefully rehearsed words tumbling out. Jonathan, I love you. I've been afraid to say it because everything has been so complicated, but I need you to know. I love you. His face transformed with joy. Olivia, but I also think we need to take a break. The joy vanished instantly. What? No, Olivia, no. Listen to me. Your company, your life's work, it's all at risk. You need to focus on that without worrying about me or your mother's ultimatums or any of this mess. Save your company, deal with your family, and then what? You'll still be here? How do I know you won't decide I'm not worth the trouble? How do I know this isn't just you looking for an easy way out? His words stung because part of her wondered if he was right. Was she being noble or just scared? I'm trying to do the right thing, she said, tears streaming down her face. The right thing is staying, Jonathan's voice broke. The right thing is fighting for this together. I can't watch you lose everything because of me. You're not listening. He took her face in his hands, desperate. You're not the reason I'm losing anything. You're the reason I finally understand what's worth keeping. The board meeting was scheduled for Friday at 2 in the afternoon. Margaret had orchestrated it perfectly, gathering enough votes to force a leadership review. Jonathan spent the week preparing his defense, working late into the night at his office. Olivia hadn't seen him since their conversation in the park. They'd texted sporadically, careful messages that avoided the elephant in the room. She'd told him she loved him, and then asked for space. He'd respected that space, even though it was clearly killing him. Thursday evening, Rachel found Olivia on the balcony again, staring at her phone. You know what your problem is? Rachel said without preamble. You're so afraid of being the reason things go wrong, that you're becoming the reason things go wrong. That doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense. Jonathan isn't asking you to fix his company or manage his mother or solve all his problems. He's just asking you to stand beside him while he handles it himself. But instead, you're running away and calling it noble. I'm trying to protect him. No, you're trying to protect yourself from getting hurt. There's a difference. Rachel sat down beside her. Olivia, real love isn't about making things easy. It's about choosing to show up, even when things are hard. Especially when things are hard. Olivia thought about Jonathan's words in the park, about Daniel's observation at the cafe, about Rachel's brutal honesty. They were all saying the same thing in different ways. She'd been so focused on not being a burden that she'd forgotten partnership meant sharing the weight, not running from it. The board meeting is tomorrow, she said slowly. Then you better figure out what you're going to do about it. Friday morning, Olivia called in sick to work. She spent 3 hours crafting a presentation using every design skill she'd learned in her career. Then she got dressed in her best professional outfit, the navy suit she'd bought for client presentations, and headed to Pierce Technologies. The receptionist tried to stop her. I'm sorry, miss, but the executive floor is in a private meeting. I know, Olivia said with more confidence than she felt. I'm here for that meeting. She walked past the sputtering receptionist and took the elevator to the 20th floor. The boardroom doors were closed, but she could hear voices inside. Margaret's crisp tones, a man's defensive response, the murmur of multiple conversations. Olivia pushed open the doors. 20 faces turned toward her. Jonathan stood at the head of the table, mid-presentation, his expression cycling through shock, confusion, and something that looked like hope. Margaret sat at his right, her face hardening into an icy mask. I'm sorry to interrupt, Olivia said, her voice steady, despite her racing heart. But I have something the board needs to see before you make your decision. Security, Margaret started, but Jonathan held up a hand. Let her speak. Olivia connected her laptop to the presentation system with shaking hands. My name is Olivia Bennett. I'm a graphic designer, and yes, I'm dating your CEO. Mrs. Pierce believes I'm a distraction, that I'm the reason Jonathan's focus has wavered. She pulled up her first slide, but the numbers tell a different story. What followed was 15 minutes of the most important presentation of Olivia's life. She'd compiled data from the past 2 months showing that Pierce Technologies' productivity had actually increased since she and Jonathan started dating. Employee satisfaction scores were up. Client retention was at an all-time high. Jonathan had closed 3 major deals in the past 6 weeks alone. The truth is, Olivia continued. Jonathan hasn't been distracted. He's been energized. He's been present in a way the data shows he wasn't before. And yes, that coincides with our relationship, but not because I'm some magical muse. It's because he's finally balancing his life, remembering that he's a person, not just a CEO. She pulled up her final slide, a simple graph. This shows the correlation between CEOs who maintain healthy personal relationships and long-term company success. Study after study confirms that balanced leaders make better decisions, retain talent more effectively, and drive sustainable growth. Margaret's expression hadn't changed, but several board members were nodding thoughtfully. Mrs. Pierce, you think I'm after Jonathan's money. I'm not. I have my own career, my own goals, my own life. I don't need to be saved or provided for. Olivia met Margaret's cold gaze directly. But I do love your son. More importantly, I respect him enough to let him make his own choices about his life, even when those choices are hard. She turned to Jonathan, her voice softening. I'm sorry I tried to make that choice for you. I was scared of being the reason you got hurt, so I hurt you myself. That was wrong. She addressed the board again. Jonathan Pierce is an exceptional CEO. Don't let outdated ideas about what his personal life should look like cost you the best leader this company has ever had. Olivia disconnected her laptop and walked toward the door. As she passed Jonathan, he caught her hand. Stay, he whispered. This is your meeting, she whispered back. Your choice. Whatever you decide, I'll support it. Resolution. Olivia waited in the lobby for 2 hours. She watched employees come and go, saw the city move through its Friday afternoon rhythm through the glass walls. Her phone buzzed with texts from Rachel demanding updates, but she had nothing to report. Finally, the elevator opened and Jonathan emerged. His tie was loosened, his hair slightly messed like he'd been running his hands through it, but he was smiling. The board voted unanimously to keep me as CEO, he said, pulling her to her feet. Margaret abstained, but even she didn't vote against me. Jonathan, that's wonderful. There's more. He led her to a quiet corner, his expression serious now. I told them I'm restructuring my role. I'm hiring a crew to handle day-to-day operations so I can focus on strategy and innovation. I'm also implementing a company-wide work-life balance initiative, starting with myself. You don't have to change everything because of what I said. I'm not changing because of what you said. I'm changing because you were right. Been running myself into the ground trying to meet impossible expectations. That ends now. Cupped her face gently. Olivia, you walked into a boardroom full of powerful people who didn't want you there and made them listen. Do you have any idea how incredible that was? I was terrified the entire time. You didn't show it. You were professional, prepared, and you fought for me when I needed it most. Ow. He kissed her forehead. That's what partnership looks like. Not running away when things get hard, but showing up even when it's terrifying. I'm sorry I tried to push you away. And I'm sorry my family drama made you feel like you had to. They stood there in the middle of Pierce Technologies' lobby, holding each other as the afternoon sun streamed through the windows. Employees walked past with curious glances, but neither of them cared. So what now? Olivia asked. Now we do this properly. No more hiding, no more wondering if we're making the right choice. We choose each other every day, and we deal with whatever comes together. Your mother still hates me. She'll come around? And if she doesn't, that's her loss. Jonathan smiled. Though I have to warn you, my sister is flying in from Paris next week specifically to meet you. Apparently, she heard about your boardroom presentation and declared you her hero. No pressure there. She's going to love you. Everyone who actually knows you does. 6 months later, Olivia stood in the same boardroom. But this time, she was presenting a rebranding proposal for Pierce Technologies' community outreach program. She'd left her old agency to start her own consultancy, and Jonathan had been her first client. Insisting on paying full market rates despite their relationship, Margaret Pierce sat in on the presentation. Her expression as unreadable as ever. But when Olivia finished, the older woman gave a slight nod. Excellent work, Miss Bennett. I have some notes, but the core concept is solid. It wasn't warm, but it was professional respect. That was enough for now. After the meeting, Jonathan walked Olivia to her car, the same silver Honda where their story had begun. Remember when you thought I was a car thief? He said, leaning against the door. Remember when you terrified me so badly I drove like a maniac? Best mistake I ever made, getting into the wrong car. Olivia smiled, wrapping her arms around his neck. Best mistake we both made. As they kissed in the parking lot, bathed in the golden light of late afternoon, Olivia thought about how far they'd come. From panic and misunderstanding to partnership and love. It hadn't been easy. There had been obstacles, doubts, moments when walking away seemed simpler than staying. But love wasn't about simplicity. It was about choosing each other through the complications. About building something real, brick by brick, compromise by compromise. Brave moment by brave moment. And looking into Jonathan's eyes, seeing her future reflected there, Olivia knew she'd choose him again and again. For as long as he'd have her. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. Even if you do drive like you're in an action movie. That was your fault. I know, he grinned. And I wouldn't change a single terrifying second of it. Neither would she. Sometimes the best love stories started with the wrong car, the wrong assumption, and the courage to see where the unexpected could lead. This was their story. Messy and complicated and absolutely perfect.